So what is Windows Azure, and why are people going in for it today? Now, basically, Microsoft or Amazon or Google came up with this particular leap to get into a data center kind of a service. The reason being, they already had the money to invest into it. There was a need जिसके लिए लोगों का बहुत सारा रिक्वायरमेंट था कि दे नीडेड रिमोट सर्विसेज, या पहले से अपने यहाँ पे डेटा सेंटर्स रहा, आई मीन है, which people have been using for years. Like I've been seeing the data centers where people used to co-host their servers, yeah, co-host their websites ever since let's say 1993-94 when I first started my job. उसी time से I have seen people hosting servers into data centers like BSNL.
Power on.
And that is why today I think I'm getting some disturbance in the back end.
I think it was
just mute everyone.
I am trying to mute as many people as I just see popping up.
Okay.
Mics are unmuted.
Mute everyone.
Request everyone. Yes.
No, we are in a meeting mode, so I don't have that control. Each person will have to do it for himself and ensure that he doesn't unmute himself in the middle of the meeting, please. Thank you.
Thank you. So basically, what does Windows Azure help us do? It helps us deploy our services. When I say services, it could be virtual machines, it could be applications, it could be networks, just at the click of a mouse. I'll take you through the journey in the next 2 days. So today we will basically talk about what Azure is, and tomorrow we may have demos for the same of whatever we've talked today. Okay, Windows Azure is nothing else but a data center which is remote located. The only problem is you do not own the data center, or you do not own anything within that data center. You just go ahead and pay rent for the services that you opt for. Okay, so why do you see people going in for services like Windows Azure or Amazon AWS or Google Cloud or any other data center today? Because of virtualization happening all across, and it helping people to spin virtual machines, spin applications, have hardware on the go at any point of time. So that helps a lot for people to basically go ahead and deploy a server or deploy a service at any point of time. So we will talk about a lot of things today which are related to Azure or a remote data center, and please help me take you through that journey. Okay, now Azure is basically the data centers for Azure are located around 24 locations across the globe. In India itself, we have 3 data centers, that is Pune, Mumbai, and Chennai, which are located in for Azure. We have a couple of them in China, Japan, Singapore, Australia, a lot of them in UK, not a lot of them, 2 in UK, and a lot of them in the US. So how are they connected to each other? They are basically connected to each other by underground cables or underground fibers, which Microsoft owns itself. So it is not dependent on a telecom provider completely for connecting the data centers to each other. At the back end, it also has in India Tata VSNL, which is a backbone for Microsoft in the Microsoft Azure cloud in India. So let me take you through three main components which make Azure, and we'll talk about them in detail. Any questions till now?
I think you can
Go ahead.
go ahead.
Okay, so the Microsoft Azure is basically divided into three different categories. One is IaaS, that is infrastructure as a service. One is PaaS, that is platform as a service. And the third one is SaaS, that is software as a service. And I'll explain to you all in detail what each one of these is and what are the benefits of going in for these and what would help you or your customers in the long run. Okay. Now, the main reason why people go in for services in the cloud is, first of all, today, if you want to buy a hardware, you need to basically, when you order a server, you need to basically wait for at least minimum of 3 to 8 weeks, if I'm not wrong. Am I right? For a server hardware to be deployed right from ordering.
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, but in case of a cloud, you can basically deploy a system in as less as 7 minutes. So if you have a requirement, you can deploy a system as low as in 7 minutes itself. So that is the benefit of a cloud. Second thing is, today the scenario wherein if you need a server and the requirement of that server has finished, usually what do you all do if that requirement has finished? Do you discard that particular server, or that server lies unused into your data center or the customer's data center? I presume it just stays in the data center, right?
Yes.
And the third point is, it is a capital investment wherein he has to invest, the customer or you have to invest upfront for the hardware, which could be a considerable amount in case of bigger deployments, and a not so considerable amount in case of smaller deployments. But over the period of let's say 3 to 5 years, this hardware is going to be obsolete. So again, you have to restart the cycle of reordering the hardware and redeploying the software and everything all over again, which may be a time consuming and a money consuming case at the end of the day. Okay. So let's go through the different components in detail. So earlier, or even today, a lot of us are using on-premise servers, wherein on the servers, we are hosting our applications, we are hosting our data in terms of files. We have a lot of applications which are runtime, like your websites. We have middleware that is basically an intermediate application between your operating system and your software or the data that is stored, and you basically go ahead and use that for interacting between hardware, data, and the operating system. Then we have the virtualization layer in some cases wherein people buy a bigger server and then compartmentalize it into number of virtual servers. We have server operating systems like Windows, Linux, Unix into the same data center that we have a separate storage device, and in order to connect everything, we have networking as a backbone. Fair enough? This is as of today. Am I right? Or as
Yes.
of people who are not using the cloud as of today. When we move on for the last four components, that is virtualization, server, storage, and networking, these basically are hosted at another location or in somebody else's data center, or in our case, it would be the Windows Azure cloud, or the cloud that, or a data center that Microsoft owns, which is the Windows Azure. So what do you mean by servers when you are basically hosting it into somebody in Azure? So it would be virtual machines, which Microsoft already has a list of virtual machines, a list of configurations that you may need or you may like to go, right from 1 GB to about 500 or 200. I mean, 1 terabyte of RAM can be allocated to a virtual machine on the go. And we'd be going through all of these tomorrow when we do a demo, and we'd basically show what type of virtual machines are there and how can you deploy virtual machines on the fly for yourself or for your customers. Secondly, these virtual machines are also enabled to have data attached to it. That is, when I say data, it is storage that I'm talking about. So Microsoft has a number of storage devices or number of storage options available to you, which are, let's say, today, if we categorize our data, it could be data which is not used so often, data that is used once in a while, and data that is not data that is used every second. For in case of banking or an ERP system, you have volatile data wherein data is exchanged between the application and the end user at every second or a millisecond. So depending upon the usage, we can go in for the storage or the storage device on the cloud as well. Now, the way you connect your systems today in a data center or in your rack using a cable, a patch cable, from server to the switch and switch again back to the server. That is how data connect. I mean, machines speak to each other in a conventional data center or a conventional rack. In case of Microsoft Azure, we have virtual networking, which is basically software-based networking, which is enabled, wherein you can have, like today, you can create multiple VLANs within your network. The same way in Azure, we can create multiple software-based VLANs wherein you cannot, you can basically segregate, or you can have different kinds of networks within your own set of servers, wherein you don't want data to be passed from one network or one subnet to the other, and the same way that you do today. So you have software-based networking also available, wherein you do not need to worry about कि यार मैं server तो host कर लूँगा, लेकिन मेरा network का क्या या मेरे storage का क्या? Okay. The only difference today that is there between a conventional kind of a data center and something on the cloud is the way you access these resources on the cloud. Certain resources are accessed via the same way, like if you want to have connection between your data center and Azure data center, there is an option of creating a VPN tunnel between your data center and the Azure subscription that you own. Or basically, when you have to use Microsoft Azure, you have to buy an Azure subscription, or you have to subscribe to Azure by the domain name or the company name that you want to use it with. So when you want to connect to Azure, the first and the very most important thing will be is you will have to connect. If you want to connect your systems with the Azure data center, you will have to have a VPN 24/7 from your infrastructure or your customer's infrastructure to Azure, and that is basically having configuration to be done on virtual on the switches or the firewalls that the customer has, and on the Azure end, so that data can start talking to each other in a better way. Now, for this, the foremost requirement would be that you have a good network backbone of internet to help you out. वरना क्या क्या होता है कि आपके पास अगर इंटरनेट का बैकबोन अच्छा नहीं रहेगा और आपने अजोर में या कहीं पे सर्विसेज या सर्वर्स डिप्लॉय किए and people start accessing and you do not have a good pipeline between bandwidth between your data center and Azure, people will start questioning or start complaining कि बॉस आपने इतना सारा खर्चा करके Azure पे लेके गए but we are not getting the kind of access or we are not getting the kind of speed that we expect from Azure. So there are a lot of factors that basically depend. Your network is one of the biggest factors that will come out here. In case of IaaS, your applications, data, everything, even your OS, you can basically go ahead and deploy your own applications, or carry your own data onto the cloud. The only things in yellow are the ones that you do not have complete control onto. The only things that you get control with respect to your devices in your data center is you only get access to applications or your operating system or the applications and data sitting on top of them. Is everybody understanding what I'm trying to say? Or I'm being a bit confusing?
We understand, yes.
No, I think it's clear
Okay.
that.
Okay, Jignesh.
Yeah, please explain regarding the green and yellow.
Okay.
You mentioned.
So when we talk about our own on-premise data center, okay, the things in green are everything that we can control, that we can basically customize to our own requirement. Okay, in case of Microsoft Azure and infrastructure as a service, we can only control the operating system, the software running on top of it, and the data on top of it. We do not have a complete control on the virtualization technology or the kind of server. I mean, you do not have the option to select कि यार मेरे को Dell का ही hardware चाहिए, मेरे को IBM का ही चाहिए या मेरे को HP का ही चाहिए. Okay. Storage device के बारे में भी वही है. Everything that is there in yellow, you do not have a control of what the backend would be, which is allocated to you. It will depend upon Microsoft and the kind of hardware that is available within Microsoft's Azure data center. Is that clear? Or does that answer your question?
Yeah, thank you.
Okay, welcome, sir. So basically, for Microsoft Azure, the virtualization that is used in the backend is Hyper-V. It is the same Hyper-V which is available within your Microsoft Windows Server, which was introduced way back in 2008. And over the period of years, Hyper-V has basically stabilized and it can grow, grow parallelly, and you can scale up within your data center up to the limit of hardware that you can deploy. Okay. In case of infrastructure as a service, when I take you all through a demo tomorrow, I'll show you the kinds of operating systems that Microsoft has available, which you can deploy, wherein you need not worry about whether I want to deploy a Windows OS or I want to deploy a particular OS of a version of Linux, or in certain cases I've seen people deploy Unix onto the virtual machines as well. Okay. In case there is one more feature which is available with the IaaS, that you can carry your Windows licenses which you already own to Azure. Okay, and I'll explain you the difference tomorrow. What would be the benefit of carrying your own licenses in the long run vis-a-vis having a virtual machine with the Windows OS pre-installed onto it. Okay.
Yes.
Okay. So the main reason between taking when we do a demo tomorrow, I'll also let you know how pricing would fluctuate between you taking your own virtual machine and your own operating system and using the operating system from the Azure cloud. Okay. The second component of Microsoft Azure is platform as a service. In this particular thing, this particular offering, you do not have control on the networking, storage, server, virtualization, the OS, middleware, or the way the platform is deployed. Okay, you only have access to the applications and the data that you store on them. A classic example of platform as a service is your SQL database. Now, in today's scenario, you usually first buy a hardware, deploy Windows Server on top of that, and then on top of that you deploy SQL. Am I right? In
Yes.
infrastructure as a service, you can have a virtual machine from Microsoft, you can carry your operating system, and you can carry your SQL Server license onto infrastructure as a service. Okay, so there you're only charged for the compute or the server that you deploy on the Microsoft Azure data center side. In case of PaaS, the SQL Server is pre-deployed for you along with the OS and everything. You just get access to your database. So you do not have control on the entire SQL Server. You just have access on your database. Is that okay? I mean, did you understand the difference between infrastructure as a service and platform as a service now?
Yes,
Yes.
a classic example would be what most of us are doing today is taking Tele on cloud. So Tele on cloud probably fall into PaaS.
So Tally on cloud, I'm not sure how you all are using that, but yes, it could be a classic example of the third offering that I'm talking to you about, will take you through about, is the SaaS. It's not the PaaS, it's the SaaS that you'll have. So it is software as a service. When you say Tally on cloud, it would be software as a service. So your Tally is already hosted somewhere and you just get access as a multi-tenant to access Tally and host your basically accounts out there. Am I right?
No, Mr. Amaya, currently Tele is not an hosted services.
Okay.
So we as a partner, we host it. So it will fall under PaaS as of now.
Pass.
Okay. So that's why I said I'm not sure about how Tally goes. But
not exactly PaaS. We also give access to start button, control panel. So it is again infrastructure as a service. Even though we call it Tally on cloud, we give access to start button, control panel, everything we give access. So it is infrastructure as a service.
Okay, no, because the Tally as a service which I give access to my customers is only as a service today. So I give access to them on Tally as an icon on the browser, and they can only get into Tally. They do not have access onto the backend. They don't know what server it is hosted on, what is the backend or what. They just have to log on to a web browser, and through that they can access that Tally, do whatever transactions they want to do. So I mean, it's different for different people.
Right. So yours will fall under SaaS. So your
exactly
will fall under.
Exactly. So it depends upon how you basically give access to the customers. So you could fall under infrastructure as a service. In certain cases, it can come under platform as a service, or it can come under as a software as a service. So everybody delivers the same service as a different option. Fair enough?
Yes.
Okay, a classic example of SaaS is nothing but your email today, which is hosted in the cloud. You don't have access. It could be your Gmail, it could be your Office 365, it could be your Yahoo, it could be Hotmail, it could be anything. So you've been using a SaaS service for ages now. Okay, today your Facebook is a SaaS service. Your Twitter is a SaaS service. Now these are applications hosted, but you are just able to access the applications. You cannot modify them, you cannot customize them. You can only customize the settings of those particular applications for the access of the users internally or the users that you want to give access to. But you cannot basically customize that completely. So you do not have access to customize your SaaS services at all. I mean, when I say at all, it's limited customization that you can do for SaaS services or software as a service. A classic example, like I said, would be your Hotmail, Gmail, or even your Office 365, which most of you all may be using. Okay.
अमय,
Uh-huh.
अरे एक चीज ये करो ना कि ऑन प्रीमाइसिस में जो एप्लीकेशन है हम लोग ने होस्टेड किया है, नेक्स्ट स्टेज में वो कैसे जाएगा, लाइक आईआईएस में, पास में, सास में, गिविंग सम एग्जांपल इफ यू कैन डू दैट मोर क्लैरिटी.
सो मैं एक काम करूं, कल आज अगर टैली का बात निकला है तो मैं टैली का ही एग्जांपल कल जब डेमो करूंगा तो मैं टैली का ही एग्जांपल कल लेके जाता हूं, चलेगा?
हाँ नहीं वो ठीक है, बट अभी अगर आप बताओगे ना तो इन लोग को आइडिया आएगा पहले ऑन प्रीमाइसिस में
अच्छा
जो है पुट इन, और हर एक स्टेज में फिर क्या अपने कंट्रोल में और क्या डेटा सेंटर के कंट्रोल में.
ओके, सो चल जाएगा.
अभी जैसे टैली जो कर रहे हैं, इफ संदीप और कोई है या तुम लोग कोई जैसे यूज कर रहे हैं, अगर कैसे हो रहा है वो अगर समझाते हैं तो, और इनको फिर क्या समझाना है वो अगर कुछ बताना है तो देख लो.
ओके, तो
मेरा एग्जांपल दो ना, हम लोग एज़्योर पे कैसे यूज कर रहे हैं टैली.
चल जाएगा. तो मैं ये टैली का ही एग्जांपल लेके जाता हूँ. तो आज के इसमें आप जो ऑन प्रेमाइस में टैली यूज करते हो वो एक सर्वर, it would be a server which would be hosted within your office itself. It could be a desktop class machine or a server class machine. उसके ऊपर विंडोज और विंडोज के ऊपर आपने टैली का सॉफ्टवेयर डाला रहेगा. Am I right?
Yes.
ओके. और ये सॉफ्टवेयर आपके जो एंड यूजर या अकाउंटेंट्स है वो उनके एंड पे देयर विल बी अ क्लाइंट सिटिंग ऑन देयर डेस्कटॉप, जिस पे एंटर करने के बाद में बैकएंड में वो सर्वर पे डेटा सर्वर से पुल करता है. Am I right?
Yes.
It could be both ways.
It could be both ways, or they can directly log on onto the server or that machine or locally hosted रहेगा. Am I right?
Yeah, both ways.
Both ways. So ये जो एग्जांपल हमारे खुद के ऑफिस में जो होता है, वही जब हम इंफ्रास्ट्रक्चर एज अ सर्विस में जाते हैं तो उधर क्या होता है कि you do not have access to the hardware. ओके, हार्डवेयर कौन सा है उस पे आपको एक्सेस नहीं है. आपको सिर्फ उनको बताना है कि बॉस मेरे पास में आई नीड 8 GB ऑफ रैम और मेरे को 2 वर्चुअल सीपीयूज चाहिए या 4 वर्चुअल सीपीयूज चाहिए, और मेरे को आई नीड अबाउट 50 GB ऑफ डेटा स्टोरेज टू स्टोर माय डेटा ऑन टू. आई जस्ट हैव टू गिव दैट रिक्वायरमेंट एंड एक मशीन मिल जाएगा जिसपे विंडोज प्री लोडेड रहेगा. उसके ऊपर I have to install Tally myself the same way that I install on premise. Okay. In that case, in that particular case, what happens is आपके पास में Tally के ऊपर टोटल कंट्रोल रहता है कि आज आप Tally कैसे दे रहे हो, यानी कैसे सेटअप कर रहे हो, उसका डेटा आपको कौन से ड्राइव पे रखना है, या इसको टैली को एक्सेस कैसे करना है. इन केस ऑफ ऑन प्रेमाइस यू हैव टोटल कंट्रोल कि मेरा डेटा सी ड्राइव पे रहेगा, मेरा डेटा डी ड्राइव पे रहेगा, मेरा नेटवर्क से या मेरा डेटा नेटवर्क शेयर पे रहेगा. इन केस ऑफ इंफ्रास्ट्रक्चर एज अ सर्विस आपको ये एक्सेस नहीं रहता कि आपका हार्डवेयर या ये कौन से मेक का रहेगा या क्या रहेगा. आपके पास में सिर्फ वो एक्सेस रहेगा कि आप उसके ऊपर टैली डाल सकते हो. डेटा कहाँ स्टोर करने का है, कैसे एक्सेस करने का है, you still have that particular control in case of infrastructure as a service. So परेश भाई के लिए हमने क्या किया है कि जो उनके ऑफिस में टैली हुआ करता था वो हम लोग ने क्लाउड पे लेके गए. we deployed a virtual machine with Windows Server 2016 और 2019 और उसके ऊपर टैली हम लोग ने डिप्लॉय किया. अभी there are about 4 से 5 लोग अलग अलग लोग हैं जो वो टैली यूज करते हैं. तो हम लोगों ने क्या किया कि उनको हर एक को हम लोगों ने एक अलग अलग यूजर नेम दिया या पासवर्ड दिया जिसके वजह से वो लोग वो वर्चुअल मशीन पे लॉग इन कर सके. जब हर एक जन वो वर्चुअल मशीन पे लॉग इन करता है तो हर एक का जो विजुअल अपीयरेंस रहता है वो अलग रहता है. He can customize the desktop, he can customize what he sees, the icons on his desktop.
You mean RDP login to the server?
RDP login, to be precise. Okay, it could be similar to the settings that you can do onto your desktop today. The only difference is you cannot basically change the settings of the tally how it is set up once the admin or एक बार मैंने और परेश भाई ने उसका सेटिंग कर दिया. Users can only use it after logging into it. So that is an RDP login in short, like you just said, sir. Okay.
So in that case, so do we need the RDP to license also?
In case of infrastructure as a service, yes, we'd require RDP license. In case of platform as a service also, you need RDP licenses. The reason being, when you are hosting or when you are connecting as per Microsoft policy, you have to have an RDP license in order to connect to the Azure.
So Amar bhai, जैसे हम लोग सर्वर Azure पे लेते हैं, so we pay let's say monthly 1200, 1500. So can we not pay there itself for RDP monthly some charge and use it?
No. So there are two ways, sir. There are two ways to do that. One is if you have a virtual private network from your office to Microsoft Azure data center, then you may require an RDP license. Okay, just try to understand me. आपके पास में अगर Microsoft यानी VPN पे रहोगे आप and you are accessing that 24/7, then you require a Microsoft RDP license. Now, if you are not having a VPN connection and आप Microsoft का ये करते हो services लेते हो, each time you log in, it will ask you to download the RDP connection agent, and using that agent, you can connect to the RDP the Azure server, and there you do not require a license for RDP.
No, I'm asking about the situation जैसे आपने परेश भाई का किया. Now let's say परेश भाई के ऑफिस में 10 स्टाफ है, सब लोग टैली यूज कर रहे हैं. Because of lockdown, परेश भाई के स्टाफ घर से लॉग इन कर रहे हैं. Everybody is using from home the same computer. They are logging 10 times RDP. You have created 10 RDP users. So in this case, we need RDP cal or not? First question. If we need RDP cal, why doesn't Azure give us along with the cost of the Windows where we pay monthly? Can we do that? That is the second question.
So Microsoft does not give RDP cals on the go. First question. Second question is, the RDP cals are needed because when we install the terminal, the server into terminal services mode, you have to have licenses, or you get to use the terminal server in the Windows server in terminal services mode only for 90 days and an additional 90 days for your extension. So maximum
120 days.
180 days hota hai.
No, 120 days. And then again you can do 120 days.
I'll have to just verify that. Earlier it used to be 90 and 90,
No,
180
no,
days.
it's always 120 days. I have installed many times. So
Okay.
immediately once you install RDP server, the role, it gives you 120 days.
Okay, maybe I may not have basically.
Okay, that's just a minor fact for you. It's not important for you to
Right.
remember
So,
that. Yeah.
so the reason why RDP cals are required is you have to deploy them on the server itself. Okay, and the technology RDP itself requires the cals for licensing in order to connect back. So there is this is by design with the Windows OS as of now. Today, there is the other option that you have where the RDP cals are bundled along with the Windows OS is known as the WVD or Windows Desktop जो बोलते हैं Windows Virtual Desktop, उसमें आपको जो कॉस्ट आता है वो बंडल होके आता है RDP का.
So in short, WVD भी वही है ना जो RDP सर्वर क्रिएट करते हैं वही है. They have just included there, so like
exactly
cost of hardware, software, and all these licenses, right?
Exactly. उसमें आपको WVD में एक ये है कि आपको जो RDP जो आप कर रहे हो आज वो बेसिकली आपको एक सर्वर का ये क्या बोलते हैं सिमुलेशन जो GUI रहता है वो सर्वर का मिलता है. WVD में you can have a simulation of your Windows 10 desktop as well. So you can have a Windows 10 desktop on the cloud as a WVD.
And so one Windows 10 desktop it is again the RDP, like on Windows 10.
Exactly. So licenses are bundled within that particular cost for WVD. But when you go for deploying RDP on a Windows server, you have to buy your licenses and deploy it there. There is no change in the way RDP or RDS, which is known today, works. You have to buy the licenses and deploy them.
So what about
if there is a company who's got everything on the cloud, so and they don't have any Microsoft licenses,
okay,
and the only licenses they'll have to buy is RDP server, RDP cals.
That's right. Now in the reason why we are talking about RDP cals is by default only 2 users can log on to a Windows server remotely when it is not in a terminal service mode. Okay, when you deploy terminal services, the mode of the system changes, and a normal user can also log on to that that server. And in order to log in, you need to deploy terminal server cals onto that server. Okay.
So in my question in the Windows 10, if you are using 5 user example, so is it possible any other user can browse the other users data folder?
No. I mean, we can basically have customization wherein browsing तो छोड़ो, किसी को दिखाई भी नहीं देगा डेटा किसका है या और कौन लॉग इन कर रहा है. That we can customize onto the terminal server up to the limit that you want.
It is also part of like WVD or terminal server?
No, we can do that in terminal server as well.
अच्छा, normal terminal also we can do.
Normal terminal server पे भी वो possible है. WVD में तो है ही है, but normal terminal server पे.
So one of my end user has a requirement. He's looking for around 40 users.
Ritesh,
can we move with the training?
Yes,
Otherwise, what happens will be a
yes.
one-to-one. So, Amej, just move with the agenda and the training subject only.
Fair enough.
Ritesh will share the details of speaker, so that after our training, you can just connect with him. Okay.
Okay.
Thank you, Ritesh.
Okay. So now this particular slide that I have out here are the different types of components that are available on the Azure cloud. Okay, so you have today, when Azure started, it only had virtual machines, networks, and your storage. But today you have security, you had a lot of media. When I say media and CDN, it's similar to your YouTube today. you can basically host your videos and people can stream your videos over Azure. You can have a lot of integrations. When I'll just give examples of each one of them, and trust me, Microsoft is almost deploying new services on a weekly basis. So it's very hard for anybody to basically say that I know Azure in and out, because every week there are new things coming up. Microsoft is keeping on adding new services day in, day out. Okay. You may have worked onto a lot of services, but knowing every service onto Azure is going to be a very hard thing, because you'll need to keep yourself updated on a daily basis. Microsoft, trust me, आप Microsoft में internally भी जाओगे, जो internally Microsoft में लोग हैं, उनको कोई you go through a particular thing and ask them if the service is new. Most of the internal Microsoft folks will not also be updated कि Azure पे ये मिल रहा है करके ये service. Again, as I said, it's a daily learning curve that you'll have to have onto Azure, which will basically take you all out here. Okay. So security में आज जैसे security का बात करता हूँ, तो आज in simple terms, security is basically in terms of your identity, in terms of your data security, in terms of your let's say आपका data breach हुआ है तो कैसे हुआ है, investigation logs and everything that can be stored, or you can have a lot of logging onto Azure, wherein agents need to be deployed onto your virtual machines, or the agents can be deployed onto your local data center as well, and you can have security which is Azure based. Media और CDN जैसे बोला आप, there are a lot of media houses, Disney बोलो या बहुत सारे ऐसे जिनके वीडियोस या नेटफ्लिक्स या जो कुछ भी है वो होस्टेड Azure के डेटा सेंटर पे है, और the way you access it, अगर किसी इसका एक्सेस ज्यादा हो गया तो they spin virtual machines on the go, जिसके बारे में कल हम बात करेंगे या थोड़ी देर में ही बात करेंगे कि what is on the go और expansion और ये क्या होता है. So these are the types of services which are available on the Azure cloud as of today. You have media integration, compute services में आपका जैसे virtual machines, hardware, I mean storage, your networks are there. And the applications, you have a lot of applications like SQL, you have Visual Studio, which you जो पहले development के लिए हम in-house deploy करते थे, वो सब available है cloud पे. You can just go ahead and subscribe. You do not have to buy the entire thing. You can subscribe it as a pay as a go. And मेरे अगले slide में आपको दिखाई देगा कि you are charged by the hour and not for the entire. यानी आपको one time आपको pay करना है. You may just go ahead and you will have to pay for the hour that you subscribe it for. Second thing is आपका usage use करना खत्म हो गया, you shut down that particular service, you won't be charged for it. The only thing that you may be charged is the data or the storage that is there which is used by that service. Otherwise, in case of a classic example, आज आप एक server खरीदते हो, let's say the cost of the server is 2 lakh rupees, OS का 60,000 minimum standard का, and additional ये करके आपका around 3 lakh rupees one time जो capex जाता है. In case the same hardware that you buy, the monthly cost may come up to you for somewhere between 4,000 rupees to 10,000 rupees a month, if that is a 24/7 consumption. Okay, when I say 24/7 consumption is अगर मैंने मेरा virtual machine चालू रखा तो ही मुझे Microsoft चार्ज करेगा. अगर मैंने वो virtual machine मेरा काम होने के बाद बंद किया तो Microsoft मुझे उतने ही घंटों के लिए चार्ज करेगा जितने घंटे मैंने यूज किए हैं. For example, in Paresh Bhai's case, we start the virtual machine at 9 in the morning and we shut it down at 8 in the evening, because उसके बाद में कोई भी वो virtual machine use नहीं करता है. So why unnecessarily have it up and running and pay Microsoft for not using it? So what we do is, or what we can do is, for services which are not used, we can basically go ahead and shut them down if they are not critical, and we can start them before the office starts up. So a lot of customers save a lot on these kinds of examples as well. Any questions on these?
The services you mentioned can be started on off on the go.
It can be started on off on the go.
Can they be programmed for a particular time?
Yes, they can be programmed for a particular time.
This will be done by end user. This can be done by end user, or somebody
No,
has to do.
the admin has access to it. The end user cannot do that. Okay. The only service that would be up and running all 24/7 would be the storage and the network, because that is something which will be consumed by Microsoft even if you shut down your servers. Okay. So अगर आपका सब कुछ भी चालू रहेगा, बंद रहेगा, फिर भी आपको स्टोरेज और नेटवर्क का कॉस्ट हमेशा ही लगेगा, which is a nominal cost. If you कल जब हम कॉस्टिंग देखेंगे उसका, या कैसे how do we reach a costing phase in Azure, we will understand that we'll understand कि ये costing कैसे होता है. Fair enough?
Yes.
And we'll also look at the change of costing when we choose the number of hours that we need that machine to be on. Okay, by default जो कोई भी machine अगर 24/7 रखते हैं, तो it's around 760 odd hours. Okay, वही अगर हम 8 घंटे पर डे के हिसाब से चालू रखेंगे तो उसका कॉस्ट कितना कम होगा वो कल सब देख लेंगे. स्टोरेज के मामले में ये सब नहीं होता है. Okay, it's only on the virtual machines, that is your compute, जिस पे ये कॉस्टिंग ऊपर या नीचे होगा. Okay.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Now there is one more thing that you can have is something as a hybrid cloud. Now, what do you mean by a hybrid cloud? Anybody?
On-prem and cloud?
Yep. So it is a mixture of your on-prem infrastructure and a cloud infrastructure working together in tandem. I mean, in unison, wherein certain servers or applications will be within your on-prem data center, and certain applications will be on your Azure cloud, and they can work together as if they are in the same data center itself. Or to the end user, he may not even know whether these are in two different data centers. To the end user, who could be the internal end user within that company or the customer of that company, for them it will not make a difference whether it's in the data center or in the hybrid data center or in the Azure data center. Okay. So a hybrid cloud is a combination of services or servers which is deployed in a mixed mode, wherein certain would be within your own data center and the remaining on the Azure data center. Fair enough?
Yes.
Okay. Now, Microsoft has also got a lot of services which are developer related and IoT. So आज हम काफी सारे ऐसे एनालिटिक्स रिलेटेड काफी सारी चीजें सुनते रहेंगे कि यार मुझे IoT करना है, मुझे ये करना है. So there are a lot of tools which are available on the go from Microsoft, which you can subscribe and start using within the next 10 minutes. Configuration and all is a different thing, but you can start using those tools on the fly. Anybody here using IoT? Yeah, anybody who who does analytics?
I think no.
No. Okay. So an analytics is nothing but application or a system which basically will go through your data and give you the kind of reports that you're looking at. For example, let's say आज का एक classic example लेते हैं, आप हर कोई न्यूज़ पढ़ता रहेगा, right? या देखता रहेगा.
Yes.
Classic example है आपका कोविड. Today across the globe, across India, कितने लोगों को टेस्टिंग हुआ, कितने पॉजिटिव है, कितने नेगेटिव है, कितने जो टोटल पॉजिटिव केसेस है उसमें से कितना अच्छा हुआ, क्या हुआ, ये लोग जो आपको टीवी स्क्रीन पे बताते हैं, that is nothing but analytics which is run on top of the data which the system has. Okay. So there are a lot of tools which are available on the cloud which basically will plug into the data that you will have, and you can get reports with the respect or customize reports with the respect that you or your customer has. You do not need to program these tools yourself. These tools are already ready-made. You just need to plug into the data. It will go ahead, analyze the data, and throw the report to you. Okay?
Yes. Okay.
I mean, would that be a good example, or should I give you another example on the same?
It's good enough.
Okay, fair enough. So can I move forward?
Yes,
any questions till now on the services or anything?
Data and like computers, both are different, or we can integrate between like data.
So the thing is, in Azure, data and compute are two different things. Now you can integrate it yourself. As you are an ISV, you can basically deploy a virtual machine and host your own data on that virtual machine itself. So for you, it would be an integration, but for Microsoft, it would just be compute. Okay. So when Microsoft says data, that means storage. Okay. It will basically storing your data. When we do a demo tomorrow, I'll show you in how is data stored onto the cloud. Now, data is stored into the cloud in terms of block storage. That is, आपको एक जैसा आपका आज आप कोई ये लेने जाते हो, external device लेने जाते हो जो आपके सर्वर से कनेक्ट करते हो. That can be a block storage kind of a thing. यानी आपको एक इकट्ठा इतना जगह दे दिया, आप उसको जैसे आपको चाहिए वैसे आप उसको क्या बोलते हैं, division करो and use it. The other is you can store data in terms of files. तो आपको file storage मिलता है. You can store data in terms of a database, जहाँ पे SQL database, जो MongoDB मिलता है आपको backend पे, जहाँ पे आपको आपका जो RDBMS relational database रहेगा या फिर एक single flat table रहेगा. You can decide how to store the data. So for Microsoft, they already have data services wherein data can be stored in multiple ways, and you can opt for a service, or the same data can be stored onto the virtual machine that you have. Okay. That is why if you look at it in this particular quadrant, you see infrastructure services जहाँ पे storage, compute ये साथ में आ रहा है. But when I go for platform, compute अलग हो गया, storage अलग हो गया, या data अलग हो गया. Okay, तो आपका जो control जो backend पे रहेगा platform as a service वो कम होते जाता है. लेकिन infrastructure पे अगर मैं बात करूँगा तो infrastructure पे पूरा control मेरे पे रहता है कि मैं data को कैसे store करूँ या कैसे access करूँ.
I have one question on this IoT. How they charge for such services? See, VM core, number of cores, and storage we can understand, but how they charge for such services?
So when we do a demo tomorrow, we'll take this example as well. To be frank, I have not used IoT services from Azure till date, so I may not want to give you a false example as of now. So they have their charging mechanisms with each and every service, and they have a tool wherein आपको approximate आपको कितना cost आने वाला है वो पता चल जाएगा for
Okay, thank you.
usage on the cloud itself. Okay.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. Any other questions?
Hello. Hello.
Hello.
Amish sir, Satish here.
आपका आवाज एको हो रहा है.
One second. Now you can hear me, sir?
Yes, I can hear you properly, sir.
Okay. Sir, आपने पहले एग्जांपल दिया था कि SQL डेटाबेस जो प्लेटफॉर्म है सर्विस ऐसा सर्विसेज हम उसमें कॉन्फ़िगर करके मतलब कॉन्फ़िगर करके मिल जाते हैं करके.
हाँ हाँ.
So my question is in platform services में Oracle database won't be available, right?
Oracle database भी available है sir. So कल जब हम डेमो करेंगे ना तो डेटाबेसेस में क्या क्या अवेलेबल है, जैसा मैंने बोला कि SQL है, MongoDB है, Oracle भी अवेलेबल है.
Oracle भी अवेलेबल है. Okay, that's the question which मैं मेरे को डाउट नहीं था. Thank you.
Oracle is also available with Microsoft. Okay. Anybody else?
सर कल और एक एग्जांपल लेना, वो जो SQL सर्वर है एज ए REST API का कोई एग्जांपल होगा एज ए सर्विस.
Okay.
So that will be useful because we develop mobile app, so उसमें हमको use करते हैं हम लोग.
So आप जब REST API की बात कर रहे हो ना तो आपका ये जो एप्लीकेशन प्लेटफॉर्म जो लिखा हुआ है यहाँ पे, you can use the application platform and not the database. So you can have your REST APIs on your Azure cloud and you can utilize it your mobile platform or your mobile apps onto the Azure cloud as well. Okay, we'll try to cover that tomorrow.
Thank you.
Okay. Anybody else? आपका आवाज बहुत लो है.
Hello.
Yep.
How can it be beneficial by using Power BI?
Okay.
Azure platform.
Okay. So Power BI is basically a SaaS offering. It's something for your analytics at the end of the day. Am I right?
Yeah.
Okay. So Power BI, what Power BI will do is you'll have to give it a data source to which it will run analytics, and you can customize your reports in Power BI with respect to the data that you have. So जो analytics का बात किया था मैंने, okay, that there are Power BI is a SaaS service, but there are services that you can build on in platform as a service which could be similar to Power BI. Okay, Power BI is basically it will go and get into your data, and you can customize the reporting and the way visualization of reports that can happen.
I was asking on the way, like when we develop some reports and we have to share it with a number of people on that prospect. Plus, when some development is made, now if I want to give client an access to make some changes on his side, so data source is somewhat fixed. But if you want to give an access to a file where he can make some changes, and accordingly, the Power BI can configure the reports.
So I am not a Power BI resource.
No problem. I just had it in thought.
So what I'll do is I have a team member who is an SME onto Power BI. So I will surely answer your question tomorrow when we speak. Okay?
No worries. Thank you.
Fair enough. Okay, can I move on?
Hello, am I?
Yep.
Yes.
Hello.
Hello.
Yes, move on, sir.
Hello.
Yep, tell me. Yes? I
Hello.
can hear you. I can hear you.
Question was that this RDP licenses, does Microsoft has any technical barrier on that?
Technical barrier in the sense?
Hello.
Technical barrier in the sense, sir?
In the sense like same thing, like previously those client access licenses, right? Whenever you buy SQL license, SQL server or Exchange server, you have client access license.
I think he can put it in a chat and can be taken up later. Yeah.
Okay. So one major advantage of Azure is, like I told you, you only have to pay for what you use. You do not have to pay for what you don't use. So the classic example of Paresh Bhai that I gave you is we only have the systems running for 8 hours or 9 hours every day, and we only pay for what is used or what is utilized. So Paresh Bhai, apna kitna bill aata hai usually for these virtual machines that we are running for Tally?
भाई को free है.
No worries. So it's basically you pay for only what you use.
That is a business secret. इसके लिए बता नहीं रहे हो.
No worries.
भाई चाय पीने को गए.
लगता है. Okay. Second is you do not have an upfront cost or a capex. It's only an opex. Okay. There are multiple ways that you can get Azure. One is you can directly log on to the Azure portal, key in your credit card and start utilizing the services. At the end of the month, आपका जितना सारा utilization होगा, वो आपके credit card से directly bill हो जाएगा. The second option is you basically there are certain cloud service providers like myself or Paresh Bhai, or there may be a lot of them within your group as well, who would be CSPs. You can basically go ahead and buy the services from them, and they will send you an invoice at the end of the month of the services that you've used, and you can basically pay for it just like what you do for a postpaid mobile bill. Okay. So there is nothing that you have to give upfront. So the benefit of this particular thing comes up in terms of a lot of software companies जिनको बहुत कभी टेस्टिंग या डेवलपमेंट एनवायरनमेंट खड़ा करना रहता है, तो अगर अपने रेगुलर डेटा सेंटर के इसके थ्रू जाए तो उसका जो वेटिंग पीरियड और इनिशियल कॉस्ट ऑफ डिप्लॉयमेंट जो रहता है वो बहुत ज़्यादा जाता है. बट इन केस ऑफ a classic example of Azure is you basically deploy the systems which may only be used for 1 week, 2 weeks, yeah, 2 months, and then you can just discard those particular virtual machines, and that's about it. You just pay for those 2 months and आपका OPEX रहेगा, वो CAPEX में नहीं जाता है, and you do not need to worry about ordering hardware या ordering software or anything as such. Okay. Any questions on how you can buy?
Maybe you can tell tomorrow for certain applications what hardware wise and config one needs to take that way also maybe.
Okay.
Sorry.
Sure, go ahead.
In MAP subscription also we get some Azure credits. Those who are having MAP subscription.
That's right. You can basically use those MAP subscriptions to, I mean, the Azure credits in those subscriptions as well. 100%. Okay. So, for example, myself, I am a gold certified partner for Azure. For under my subscription, I get about $6,000 of Azure's usage per year free of cost. And $6,000 is a big amount if you really look at it.
सर एक बेसिक सर्वर खड़ा करना 1000 रुपये तो व्हाट इज द कॉस्ट कंपेयर टू नेट में जितना होस्ट करे यहाँ पे करे टेलीकॉम क्लाउड.
Can we look at that example tomorrow, sir, when we are actually doing the demos?
Absolutely.
Yeah. Okay. Second is जैसे मैंने पहले भी बताया, you are billed by the minute. I'm sorry, I was wrong. It's not by the hour. It's by the minute. So आप अगर 10 मिनट ही यूज करोगे तो आपको 10 मिनट का ही बिल लगेगा. अपने कोई एप्लीकेशन या कुछ आपको यूज करना रहेगा, सर्वर अप किया, सर्वर शट डाउन करके रख दिया, बस you'll be charged only for that. In case अपने यहाँ पे अभी क्लासिक एग्जांपल कुछ यूज करना रहेगा, you have to buy the machine, सॉफ्टवेयर खरीदो, ये करो और पूरा ये करो. ऊपर you just buy the machine, you use it for an hour, you'll bill be 1 hour 1 hour 10 minutes, and you'll be charged for 1 hour 10 minutes only. For example, certain times, I'll give you a classic example of this. Is a lot of companies, manufacturing companies, a lot of companies, you see a lot of spike that comes up at the end of the month. या HR के टाइम पे जो सैलरीज रहता है या ये रहता है, जब कंजम्पशन बढ़ जाता है मशीन का, सर्वर का कंजम्पशन बढ़ जाता है, महीने भर सर्वर का यूटिलाइजेशन 10% 2% पे रहेगा, लेकिन एक आखिरी वीक रहेगा जहाँ पे कंजम्पशन एकदम से 80%, 90%, 100% तक जाता है. सो देयर यू कैन बेसिकली यूटिलाइज the elastic model of a virtual machine. Okay, जहाँ पे अगर कंजम्पशन बढ़ता है तो अपने आप रिसोर्सेज वो डिप्लॉय करेगा और you don't have to worry about कि मेरा एप्लीकेशन या सर्वर स्लो हो रहा है. तो वहाँ पे ये पर मिनट बिलिंग आपको बहुत फायदेमंद होता है. जैसे ही कंजम्पशन कम हो जाएगा वो अपने आप स्केल डाउन होके वो सर्वर ओरिजिनल इस पे आ जाएगा.
जैसे सर रेड बस का और बुक माई शो का फ्राइडे सैटरडे संडे बहुत हैवी ट्रैफिक होता है और मंडे टू थर्सडे नहीं होता है वैसा.
Maybe exactly. And again, Redbus is hosted onto Azure. Just an FYI.
Yes, and they have multiple servers. In the weekends, there's number of servers increases.
Exactly.
And weekdays they reduce the number of servers.
And just to let you know, these number of servers increase automatically. There is no manual intervention needed in the same.
Yes.
Okay. So you can automate all these things into Azure. जहाँ पे classical अपने classic data center में you cannot do those. Okay. Again, there is no charge for stopped VMs. अगर कोई सर्वर आपने stop करके shut down करके रख दिया तो आपको cost 0 लगने वाला है. Fair enough?
Yes.
Okay. Under virtual machines, when we go onto Azure, you have Windows Server and Linux virtual machines with basically virtual private network. जो network की मैंने बात की थी. Now, right now, we'll be starting with the different types of services available onto Azure in detail. Okay. So virtual machines, under virtual machines, you will have Windows servers and Linux virtual machines, जिसका एक classic example कल जब हम demo करेंगे तब देखेंगे. Okay.
Yes.
And you have VPN in the backend to support those virtual machines. यानी network भी immediately same time पे खड़ा हो जाएगा. Okay. You also have load balancing, which is available when you deploy a virtual machine, and you also have high availability. So what do you mean by, again, what do you mean by load balancing and high availability? Anybody? Or are both the same?
No, both are different. Load balancing is something like what Kamal bhai said recently. Example of Book My Show, etc. When there's a load when you have more load on one server, it can be automatically basically transferred to another server. And high availability is one server is down, automatically shift to the second server.
Exactly. So this is basically Azure allows this by default on, I mean, not by default, you can opt for load balancing and high availability on the Azure cloud. Okay. When we do a demo tomorrow, you'll see that. Okay.
So is there any extra charges for this?
Yes, there are. So for every service that you opt onto Azure, you will be charged for it. But you will be only charged when you use it. If you're not using it, you won't be charged for it. Okay. So the example that Kamal Bhai just gave is load balance traffic. So when you have an elastic cluster and you have multiple virtual machines under one particular availability set, it will basically, when a request comes, it will understand which server is busy, which is free, and it will basically allocate that particular request to the server which has more free resources. Okay. And high availability is what we just saw, is if a particular server goes down, the remaining two will basically take this thing from the load from the other the server which has gone down, and they will at the end make the end user will not be aware that something has gone down, a server has gone down, and he is not able to access the application. So the load may be distributed onto different servers as well. Okay.
These features must be additionally charged, I believe. No, they will be charging additional for this.
Yes, just as I said, these would be, so every feature or service that you get from a cloud provider, they will charge you extra for it. It is not a necessity that you go ahead with these features, but you can opt if you want them, and you can just let go if you're not worried about high availability or load balance. So this
no, but this high availability will be charged only if it is utilized at that particular point of time.
No, but the thing is, high availability, when you say high availability, you will always have to pay a minimal amount for the resource that you've allocated to it.
Right. Got it. Thanks.
Okay. Now
it is here always uptime they ensure normally 99.99% or.
Okay. And now one more thing on the high availability side is when you are using an infrastructure as a service, okay, that is when you need to be worried about the high availability or the load balancing. But when you're using a platform as a service, Microsoft has considered that particular cost in the feature that you're going under platform as a service, and it is Microsoft's responsibility to give you high availability for all the services that you buy under platform as a service. Okay, for example, like Redbus or BookMyShow, they would not be hosting the virtual machines onto Azure. They'd be hosting applications on as a platform as a service. Okay, that is why whenever there is a rush on the weekends, the servers beneath spin by themselves. You get my point? Hello?
Yes, sir.
So basically, in cases of BookMyShow or Redbus, they would be working on a platform as a service and not as an infrastructure as a service. In order to deploy the load balancing and high availability, you need to configure it the way you want it. Okay, that is why you are charged for it additionally. In case of platform as a service, it is inbuilt into the cost of the platform itself. So it's a hidden cost within the platform itself. Fair enough?
Yes. So in platform as a service, the applications which are running, so because of the high availability, that application, if it's not running on this particular server, it will switch to the other servers and it will function as it is, right?
Yes. So that is Microsoft's responsibility. That does not become your responsibility to configure the service that way. It is Microsoft. So if one particular server on which the platform the application is hosted goes down, Microsoft basically moves that particular service to another server, and you don't even notice it. It is just a one single ping drop that if you have a ping going on, that you will see in your ping drop ping test. Okay, you won't notice it in the GUI. It would just be one ping drop at the backend.
Yes.
Okay.
Thank you.
Okay. So we have Windows Azure networks as well, wherein, like I said, you can have multiple subnets between the virtual machines that you deploy, and you can segregate the network the same way that you do in Office today. So in case of let's say any type of an organization wherein you do not want the financial people to, or the data of finance being shared with the regular users or developers or anything. So you can basically have different subnets within the Azure fabric as well, and you can have these networks talking to each other as well. The same way that you do it. The only thing is today you configure your Cisco or your other switches manually. Here everything is software based. You may not know which OEM Microsoft is using at the backend for these particular virtual networks. Okay.
Yes.
You can also have a virtual gateway for your basically when you connect to the Microsoft Azure, wherein your data center, like we spoke about the hybrid cloud, it could Azure could be connected to two different data centers. For example, we have a lot of companies who may have their data centers and offices into multiple cities. So in that particular case, instead of having a pipe between let's say Pune and Mumbai, you can have a pipe between your data center and Azure, and from then Azure back to the Pune data center. So this ways it can be on the same network at all points of time. You did not have a point-to-point connectivity between Pune and Mumbai. It can be routed through the Azure data center. Okay.
Okay, that means the users which are there in Pune will connect to the Pune center, and users which are in Mumbai will connect to the Mumbai data center, and but they are working actually on the same cloud servers. That's what you're saying.
So the thing is, I mean, the example that I wanted to give is, let's say you have an office in Pune, you have an office in Mumbai. Okay. Today, in order to for the two offices to speak to each other, you need to have a point-to-point connectivity between Pune and Mumbai office. Am I right?
Right. Right.
Okay. In the example that I was talking about is, you basically spin across another this thing on the cloud, Azure cloud. You do not need to have a point-to-point between Pune and Mumbai. over the VPN, over the internet itself, there is a VPN tunnel which is created between Pune and Azure and Mumbai and Azure, wherein data can travel between Pune and Mumbai over the Azure cloud, and you do not need a point-to-point.
Okay.
Okay, so the use or the requirement even today, a lot of thing is moved on to the MPLS, right? So today you do not need a point-to-point. You can just have an MPLS and you can connect between the two offices, right?
Yes.
Okay. When I mean point-to-site is what I spoke about is you can have a device directly connecting to using a VPN client. So today in most of the cases, you'll have a VPN client sitting on the desktops of your users. Am I right? Or the customers, this thing.
Yes.
So that creates a point-to-site VPN.
Yes.
Okay. That is also available through Azure. So you can have multiple desktops that have a point-to-site VPN tunnel, which can basically connect to your Azure cloud as well. So you have the capability of site-to-site and point-to-site in Azure as well. Fair enough?
Yeah.
I think it will be better explained tomorrow when we do a demo or something.
Sure. So you said you have your MAF credits. Similarly, if you have a MSDN subscription, you are a software development company, you get Azure credits through your MSDN as well. Okay.
We are getting $100 per month through our action pack also, no?
I mean, I'm not sure about that because, as I said, Silver has a different this thing. Action Pack has a different offering.
100 USD.
Gold has a, so under my Gold, I get about $500 a month. Okay. So Azure is more focused onto the applications rather than the infrastructure. What do we mean by that? So what Azure wants is basically it's more worried about having you hosting your applications on the cloud rather than just going ahead and using it as another data center, just like virtual machines or everything. So Microsoft has worked towards making it available for somebody had a question about a mobile application which can be stored or run over the cloud. So you may not run it over a Linux or a Windows machine. You can run it directly onto the cloud itself. Like the example that I gave you about YouTube or certain streaming services. For example, I had a customer, Balaji Telefilms. They were streaming their videos from the Azure cloud. So the storage was there on the Azure cloud, and whenever a particular video was a lot of traffic came for a particular video, those videos would be basically spun across multiple virtual machines internally, and they were using it as a media as a service, and people could access that video without a glitch. Okay.
Yes.
So when we talk about SQL database, it's you do not get a Windows virtual machine. You just get the this thing. The screen of a database. The way you log in into SQL, you will directly see get an access to the database rather than a Windows server on which the database is hosted. Okay, so this is a classic example of your past wherein you did not worry about it. What is the hardware behind it or anything. So you can just go ahead and subscribe just for the SQL database itself. The license cost of the Windows hardware and the SQL is embedded in the cost for the SQL database that you buy over the cloud. Okay, you can host your websites, which could be ASP.NET, Node.js, or any kind of, even your WordPress and all on the Azure cloud today, and you can scale them and scale down, up and down whenever you need. So whenever there is traffic, it will grow. I mean, the size will grow. Whenever there is less traffic, it will basically scale down, and you won't be charged for it. I won't talk on these particular things because this is majorly for other, but you have auto scale for applications like the example or the things that Kamal Bhai said about your Redbus and Book My Show. So they are built to auto scale depending upon how much you want to auto scale to. You just have to configure it once and it will keep on running all the time in the backend. Okay, there is something in the there is something which Microsoft has introduced recently, that is your DevOps. DevOps is also, the DevOps tools are also available on the Azure cloud as of today, and you can use it as a pay-as-you-go model. Okay. Similarly, you have Visual Studio Online, which you can go, and a lot of development companies, instead of deploying Visual Studio within their data center, they can basically go ahead and deploy this within the Azure cloud itself. Okay. Now storage. Storage is basically, we'll talk about storage tomorrow. There is an additional service which is available on the Azure cloud is Active Directory. It basically is a service which you can integrate with your applications. You can integrate it with a lot of things over the internet. For example, today, a lot of applications, when you install on your mobile phone or you subscribe on the internet, they ask you, how do you want to get authenticated? Do you want to get authenticated using a Google authentication or a Facebook authentication, or do you want to give your own authentication? Am I right?
Yes.
You can build up a service like this using Active Directory on Azure, and that can be used for your applications which you host, maybe mobile applications or anything which you can use to authenticate your users for that particular authentication. So your basic backend authentication happens on using Active Directory on Azure. Okay.
Yes.
I mean, if you really ask me, 2 hours or 3 hours is very small if we need to understand Azure completely. Okay. So that's about it from my end for today. On the Azure, we will go in for demos tomorrow. Do you have any questions of the features or the things that we spoke about today?
So anyone having any question can ask. Tomorrow we will have some practical things. So the theory part is over, correct, Amayji?
Right, sir.
So any member has any problem, any query, they can ask now.
Hi, Amay. This is Amit. So, do you recommend Azure as in like for using GPU kind of services?
So it depends upon the application. So earlier, Azure did not have the GPU kind of a service before, but recently they have introduced it a couple of months back. So it all depends. Now today, in order to, so what you'd be looking at is compiling a lot of images or something for the GPU kind of a service. Am I right?
Correct.
So today, if you want to build up that kind of a thing, what is the minimum cost that you incur for in order to let's say you have to render an image or a video? How much do you get charged for it, or how much do you pay upfront for that kind of an infrastructure? It would be a huge amount that you may have to go in for. Am I right? So Azure, I mean, if you don't want to get into the hassles of doing a capital investment, you just subscribe for that GPU based machine, and you complete your work, render your image or a video, shut down the machine, delete that image, and you're good to go, and you'll only be charged for the time that you've used that image for.
Makes sense.
Okay. So
Thank you.
a lot of media houses do not need the rendering or everything 24/7. Am I right?
Yes.
Secondly, there could be a lot of images or things that are needed wherein you need to have huge compute for those renders, right?
Mm-hmm.
So at that point, it's not easy for you to buy those machines on the fly.
Right.
So these can be taken on Azure. So if I tell you Disney or your a lot of media houses which use a lot of VFX today use cloud like Amazon and Azure for these rendering services, would you believe?
If you say yes.
Yeah. So because they don't need it. So when it's into pre-production, they don't need the rendering services or host it in their data center. Secondly, if the images or the videos are high enough, they'll just subscribe it, do the rendering, and move away. They did not maintain the software or the hardware for it for a longer time.
Got it.
Okay.
Yeah. Thank you.
That's it. Okay. Anybody else?
Yeah, hi. Actually, the RDS cal what we're discussing on Azure, on a normal server we have per device cal or per user cal. Can't we use the same way on Azure?
It's the same way on Azure. So there is no difference between per user or per device onto Azure.
Okay. Okay. So once we said per device, I mean the RDP license has to be on the device rather than on the server, right?
Exactly. So the device, the cal will be allocated to the device which is connecting to it.
Okay. Okay. So no. So then we don't need the cal on the server, right? In this scenario.
No. So when the thing is, you have to install the licenses in per device mode or per user
per device
on,
mode if we select. Yeah,
Yep.
if we select per device mode, then
they have to be installed on the licensing server
Yeah.
in the terminal server, right?
Right. Yeah.
So when you configure your server to be used as a per device mode, the
Right.
licensing server will allocate it to the system which is connecting to the terminal server. So the next time the server is contacted by a particular
Device.
system,
Yeah.
device,
Yeah.
it will check whether it already has licenses or it needs to basically give out a new license to it.
Okay, fine.
It's the same way.
Same way as the server, like it's exactly the same way as the server.
Yep, the concept does not change.
Okay, fine. Thank you. Thanks.
Okay. Any other question?
Tomorrow you have to keep time because generally theory everybody is aware because all are SI.
No worries, no worries.
यही बोल के तो सब बेचते रहते हैं. Just want how to implement it and how to configure it.
Sure, sir.
Mr. Satish है. जैसे आपने अभी लाइसेंसिंग की पार्ट बता दिया है, normally per device रहेगा तो within office premises रहते हैं तो we know that these all are devices connected, so we can assign the per device license accordingly. But in case of work from home scenario, how do we make a tracking of that कि ये per devices में हम लोग ने ये device configure किया है, but due to some problem so device change होता है, then how do we keep the tracking of that?
देखो ये तो आपके ऑफिस में भी ये पंगा था. लेट्स से कि आपका ऑफिस में भी लेट्स से यू बाय 10 लाइसेंसेस फॉर on the terminal server and 10 device calls have been allocated to 10 systems. आपका एक सिस्टम फॉर्मेट हो गया या क्रैश हो गया तो वो लाइसेंस से निकल गया. एम आई राइट? जब 11वां मशीन आप 11वां मशीन वापस लेके आओगे तो उसको एक टेम्पररी ही कैल ही मिलेगा. रीजन बीइंग 10 लाइसेंसेस ऑलरेडी निकल चुके हैं. सो अंटिल एंड अनलेस आपने जो लाइसेंसिंग का जो पीरियड रहता है जहाँ पे लाइसेंसेस स्टोर होते हैं, until and unless that period is over, it won't be released back onto the 11th machine. The concept does not change at all between on-premise and Azure. It's still the same.
Maya, you talked about bringing our own OS versus.
Is it clear or?
Hi, Amaya. Hello. Hello. Can you hear me?
Yes.
My question is.
Hello.
You talked about bringing our own OS versus using Microsoft OS. Can you just elaborate on that?
So when we are doing a demo tomorrow, I'll show you the difference of costing that will happen when you bring your own OS and take the OS from Microsoft. There is a cost difference of close to about 60+% if you really ask me. If you take, if you host your own OS onto the Azure cloud. Okay. So कल जब demo करेंगे ना ये सब points. See, at the end of the day, we as SIs want to save the customer's money and gain his trust. Am I right? So if we give him a better option to save money, to have better services, the customer will be stuck with us rather than our competitors. So I will show you the tips and tricks tomorrow, how you can basically lower down the cost of the customer and help out the customer. At the same time, I'm sorry. At the same time, what is the cost difference that it makes? There are a few more things which are known as reserved instances, which I've not talked about. Reason being, when I show it to you as a demo tomorrow, it will be much more helpful rather than what it's as of which we talk in theory.
Sir, would you be able to cover tomorrow when we do the practical session about how to take a backups on the Windows server?
I'll take you through the backup, and we did not speak about backup today. So when we do a demo tomorrow, I'll take you, because as I said, there are a lot of things which are available which keep on adding every day or every week. I'll take you through a major thing, logging onto the Azure portal, which will make life much more simpler for you to understand what all you can do under Azure. I may not, as I said, 2 hours or 3 hours is not a sufficient amount to go through everything under Azure. Okay. We're just going on the tip that we can say. ऊपरी आज जो कुछ भी कर रहे हैं वो ऊपरी कर रहे हैं, but.
Got it. The reason why I was asking, because a lot of customers are having case studies like, they have a server at their office and they want to put it into a cloud. So then in that scenario, we have to.
So in that scenario, we spoke to about something called as a high availability. Okay. In Azure, you can store that data or your server in two ways. One is you can have a copy of the server on the Azure, or you can have a high availability onto Azure with a service called Azure Site Recovery. So that becomes, if your on-premise server goes down, you can use the server on the Azure, which is not running 24/7. And that can become your server at a backup at all points of time. So there are a lot of things that we'll be talking tomorrow when practically looking at it, because as I said, it was not easy. It is not easy for me to cover all the topics in one particular session of, let's say, an hour and a half.
Okay, thank you.
Okay.
So I think we have a very good sessions from you, Mr. Amir.
Thank you.
People, members have a good exposures to the Azure, I'm sure. And tomorrow when we meet again at the same time, 3:45 p.m., correct?
Right.
We'll be able to see in detail. You will be making us go through the practical things of the Azure.
Sure, I'll basically take you through the first thing that I'll show you is the pricing calculator and how you can optimize the cost. Okay, we'll go through a few scenarios and that will help us out.
So it will be great actually. So
okay. And
I'm sure
I hope I have made justice to everybody who is there in this particular session. I've made justice for their time to be here.
Yes.
Absolutely, definitely.
Yes. So
thank you.
Thank you, Amayji. I will think we'll meet tomorrow. Otherwise, what happened? We'll just keep on talking and keep on talking only.
Yes.
Yeah. So members, tomorrow 3:45 sharp. Again, we will start session at 3:55. So we can finish by 5:30, 5:45, 6 o'clock. Tomorrow is a practical things. So all are requested to join on time. And so we'll just meet tomorrow only. Thank you, Amayji, and thank you, Paresh bhai, for connecting us Azure to Amayji. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Paresh bhai.
Thank you,
Amayji.
Tushar, Nilesh, and all Azure members, welcome.
Paresh bhai, કાલે આવવાનું જ છે. કહી દઉં સારું. Thank you very much.
Thank you. We'll take your leave now. Thank you very much.
Good evening, everybody.